Hello everybody, it's me, Elliott from ETJ English. Today, we're going to have a little chat about accent reduction. Before we talk about accent reduction, I want to point you in the direction of this bad boy over here, not the elephant, the other thing, that thing. Wow, 1 million subscribers. Thank you so much. It means the world to me. I never, ever believed that people would even like me. Without you, I wouldn't have my business. I wouldn't be able to run my pronunciation course online. I wouldn't be able to teach people every day, educate people, help people, have amazing conversations with people through my online course, and also just be able to create free content like this to help you. It's so special to me. You're special to me, and I just want you to know that. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And so before I start crying, let's start talking about accent reduction. If we were to define accent reduction, like a basic definition, we would say it's interference in your speech from your mother tongue. So essentially some sounds, some aspects, some things that come from your native accent that cause some kind of breakdown in your speech. They make it maybe difficult for the native speaker to understand you, or they just make you sound very Spanish, or like you have a very strong Japanese accent, or whatever it is, wherever you're from. I have many students who come and tell me, Elliott, I have a really thick accent. So what we would do is, before we start working towards a British accent in my course, we would first work on accent reduction, reducing those thick sounds, the thick aspects of your accent that keep getting in the way. Accent reduction can just be something that you do, and then it's like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to achieve a British accent. I don't want an Australian accent. I just want accent reduction. And that's absolutely fine. It's what many people join my 15 weeks course for, just for the accent reduction. But of course, accent reduction can open up multiple doors. It can give you the opportunity to think, okay, well, now I've reduced some of the strong sounds in my accent. I sound a bit clearer. Maybe now I'll start pushing myself more towards the end game. The British accent, the American accent, RP accent, Scottish accent, Scouse accent. I'm trying to name all of them because I know people get offended. So essentially, I see accent reduction as identifying your problems, identifying what causes difficulty between yourself and your listener. What affects your confidence? What makes the listener say, sorry, what was that? What did you say? Can you repeat that, please? Looking at these things and then making a plan and saying, this is how we're going to deal with it. We're going to reduce this, and reduce this. If you're working with a professional, so an accent coach like myself, make sure you choose one that has an accent that you like. So for example, I teach RP, modern RP, British pronunciation. So if that's your end game goal, or you think it could be in the future, then choose someone to help you with accent reduction that has that accent, like myself. Or if you're trying to achieve an American accent, of course, work with an American teacher and make sure that they can help you reduce your accent, but perhaps more in an American style. Because then you'll be learning more of the rhotic sides of it, so pronouncing your R's instead of perhaps what I would teach, which would be about having a non-rhotic accent. So let's talk about the first step that I take with many of my students when we try to work towards accent reduction, and that is your stress and your rhythm. People have different types of accents because they come from backgrounds with different languages, and some languages are stress timed, some languages are syllable timed. I recommend you Google now your accent and find out whether it's stress timed or syllable timed or something else, and this will then help you understand maybe some of your problems. Because in English what we do is every sentence has words, right? And some of those words are providing context. They're important, they're useful. Okay, verbs, nouns, adjectives, anything which gives the listener useful information. These words need to be stressed. which means we say them perhaps a little bit slower. We make them more obvious and we give them more time so that the listener can really hear these words, so that they can understand the story. And really, this is the main thing that listeners are looking for when you're speaking, the stressed words. And then around those words, we have the boring words, grammar words, function words, whatever you want to call them. But these would be words like to, for, and, can, which usually we pronounce as t, f, and can. Nice and short, relaxed, fast. And that's because nobody cares about these words. So we don't need to emphasize them. We don't need to make them obvious. Now, many students have problems with this. And you might think that it's really helpful if you're emphasizing every word. I want to buy this. I would say the main thing about this is yes, but it can make you sound a bit like a robot, and it can make it difficult for the listener to kind of feel comfortable listening to you. So it's quite important from the beginning to try and adopt this technique of relaxing the less important words so that your stressed words can be more obvious and we give those words more time. I recommend that when you're doing listening practice, when you're listening to natives, start trying to focus just on the stressed words, the words that they're giving you a bit more effort with. And try to pay less attention to the grammar words like to, and, for, the. And then try and do that with your speech. The other thing I'd say is please, you don't need to talk so fast. Natives don't actually talk as quick as you think. The thing that creates this illusion that we're talking quickly is the fact that we're using these weak forms, these quicker versions of words like to, for, and. It makes it seem like we're talking faster than we actually are. If you pay attention to the stressed words, they are slower, and that's all that matters. So try not to talk so quickly. If you need to slow down like big time, it's okay. Your listener will understand you more. People think they'll sound more advanced at their English level if they talk quickly. It's not true. Slower is better, and it makes you sound more confident if you talk slower. So after stress, of course, you might want to have a little look at intonation. In terms of accent reduction, yes, intonation is useful, but particularly for those who have tonal accent. So for example, Mandarin is a tonal accent, which means that they change the tone and it changes, or literally changes the word. So, I could say dog in English, but if English was a tonal language, I could say dog, and that could mean poo or something, like it. So intonation, I would say, yes, it's useful, but there are more important things when it comes to the first part of improving your accent, which is accent reduction. So intonation is helpful in some ways because we can change the tone and make it sound like a question rather than a statement. We can change our tone and sound more emotional or enthusiastic. We can sound more confused. So learn kind of the basic guidelines with intonation, but you don't really need to know too much just yet. It's something we could always deal with a little bit later. But what is important after you've improved your stress is your sounds. So everybody has their own problems with sounds. Some are more typical of your native accent, but some people just have some problems with certain sounds, and it doesn't matter where they're from. But, if we take it in basic terms, number one, probably the most common and interesting thing is minimal pairs. So probably like 90% of my students who join my course, they pronounce the I sound more similar to an E. So they would say seat instead of sit. So if you said, I sit in my seat, it might sound like I seat in my seat. Now, we don't really want this. Of course, the listener can still kind of understand what you're saying, but if you're trying to reduce your accent, you need to have a very clear difference. Tongue position, mouth shape, everything needs to be clear when pronouncing the I and the E sounds. They need to sound different. It, eat. If I told you to say eat it, and you said eat, it doesn't work. And then there are other ones. There's the A and the E, so man, men. So whenever you say the word man, if it sounds a bit more like men, then of course you need to make sure it doesn't sound like the plural form, band, bend, sand, send. Also and a, but, bat, much, match, cut, cat. And there's a whole chapter in my course that covers this because there are so many for so many different accents. As well as minimal pairs, there might just be some vowels that you pronounce just badly, and you need to work on those and learn how the tongue position works. There might be some diphthongs. Like diphthongs is a really common one because so many of my students don't do the O sound. So a diphthong is when we combine two vowel sounds together and they become one. U, O, in a word like no. But you'll be surprised how many students join my course and they say no, and they just do an O sound. Diphthongs again are going to improve your communication. They're going to make you sound clearer because what they're doing is pronouncing it as an O, which is a different sound, like in not. And of course we have consonants. They're really important to get right. Usually there aren't as many problems with consonants that students have when it comes to accent reduction, but the problems that are usually there are big ones. So for example, V and W. I have many students who say, like wery instead of very, or went instead of vent, where they're pronouncing the W and the V kind of interchangeably, and it gets confusing when the mistakes are made. Also the R and the L, so saying lead instead of red. TH sound, saying dis instead of this. It's important to get your tongue between your teeth whenever there's a T and a H. It depends on you, depends on your accent, and again, you need someone to identify that for you or to try and identify it yourself. The main thing I'll say if you're trying to achieve accent reduction is to work on one sound at a time. Obviously, if it's a minimal pair, so it's two sounds that are you're getting confused between, work on those together. But if it's an individual sound, make sure you're working on it alone for a week or 10 days and no other sound. Don't try and improve everything all at once. You need to take it one sound at a time, get your mouth comfortable with the new sound, and try to achieve muscle memory. Daily practice really helps. These are kind of the bare bones things that you need to be looking at. So stress, rhythm, how you present your words, your speed. That would kind of be step one. Step two would be the sounds, looking at the vowels, the diphthongs, the consonants, minimal pairs, things that you pronounce that just sound a bit odd. And finally, it would just be the way that you carry out the process. But there are more things, as I said, and those are things you would need to discuss with someone because every accent is individual. You have your own individual accent, and there are some things which you need to identify or someone needs to identify for you. So accent reduction is the beginning. It's where you can then start building onto something new. You will always be working on your accent reduction. It's something you need to maintain, just like a healthy body. But you can do what you want with your accent. Don't be ashamed of the accent you have. You are you. You are from where you're from. But if your accent is getting in your way, or maybe you just would love to have a different accent, do what you need to do in order to achieve that. But never forget who you are and where you're from. If you are looking to achieve some accent reduction, if you're looking to work towards a modern RP British accent, or you just need some help with your pronunciation, then of course you can sign up to my course, etjenglish.com. It's an RP British pronunciation course. You have loads of recorded videos, downloads, files, homework, and you get to talk to me on WhatsApp or WeChat whenever you want for feedback, advice, accent evaluations, accent reduction help, anything. So have a look at the website if you're really interested in taking this step, and I would love to meet you and I'd love to work with you. So thank you very much. That's me done. Thank you for watching. Take care. Cheers, guys. Bye.